Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show with your hosts, Rusty Buckets and Uncle Buck. Now, let's get to the show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to your Wednesday edition of the Two Buck Sports Show. I am one Buck. Rusty Buck is checking in live from East Memphis, Tennessee, on your lunch break at 11 a.m. Central on YouTube. But fret not, you're not going to have to listen to me drone on by myself for the next 30, 45, probably an hour. If you truly know me, know that I am brevity is not my strong suit. But you don't have to listen to me drone on. I have a very special guest straight from the comments section on with me today. Jared Davidson is going to join to talk Arkansas football, SEC football, and a little bit of high school football at the end. It's going to be a football-heavy episode, which I'm super stoked about. I can talk football all day long, so I'm glad to have Jared on the show today. But Uncle Buck is out. He had a work thing come up. I don't know if he actually works, if he's out Power Rangering or what. He's talking about some guys coming in from out of town. What it sounds like he is getting audited to make sure he's actually doing his job. But I'll leave that be. But before we get into the ball talk, I am a bit salty today. I'm going to be honest with you on the front end here amongst friends. It's well known that I love this city and the city of Memphis pretty heavily. And I take offense when people talk poorly about it. Even though some of the things they may say are not necessarily wrong, I don't love the messaging around it. And so in our real versus counterfeit today, I've already warned Jared, like, hey, man, I'm throwing you in the fire here. I understand that. Didn't prep him for this. This happened over the course of the last 12 hours, kind of came around. And I want to talk about some bad perceptions about the city of Memphis that are being perpetuated by local media guys. And it's one thing when it's national guys, but when it's our guys here in our own backyard, I take major offense to that. So I'm going to bring Jared on, and we're going to talk about it in Real versus Counterfeit. Jared, what's going on, my guy? How are you, brother?
Oh, man, I'm good. It's, it rained a little bit this morning outside, and I walked outside, and I was like, it felt great. Sun came out about 10 minutes later, and I was miserable again. So I'm glad to be back inside. But, no, overall, doing great, man. Thank you for sending the text yesterday, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Super excited. We've talked in the past about hanging out and talking shop and talking ball. And when Drew told me yesterday, hey, you're going to have to make a contingency plan for tomorrow. And I know he and I are trying to do more college football content leading up to the season. And that's kind of our bread and butter. And I thought, you know what? I would love to boo-boo all over Jared's takes about Arkansas for this upcoming season. So definitely looking forward to that here in a few minutes.
It'll be a fun one.
Yeah, but Jared, I did want to get your take on something. We do a Real versus Counterfeit segment here every single Wednesday live at 11 a.m. Central on Bluff City Media's YouTube channel. And Jared, it's been a hot topic of conversation this summer just around Memphis and the perception nationwide as the murder capital of the U.S. and the crime capital of the U.S. and the armpit of the state of Tennessee and all the things that are said about Memphis. And so having you on today, I am throwing you into the fire, so I own that and apologize for that. But it is what it is. So I guess in your outside opinion, you grew up in South Haven, and then now you live in kind of like West Tennessee on the outskirts out in the Martin area. Real or counterfeit, Memphis is one of the most, it's real. They were one of the most hated on cities in the country.
Yeah.
But real or counterfeit, it deserves that reputation.
That's tough. I will say counterfeit. I mean, yes, there are things that happen that make, national news that, do not give a good perception of the city. That's just how things roll in the world, because what drives clicks? It's negative comments. It's very rarely will you see positivity unless it's, a cute puppy dog getting, blasted across to the continental 48 worldwide. It's counterfeit. The negative comments is what gains traction. I love Memphis. Whenever I get to come back down, I do. And I absolutely love it. It's just the outside perception is what it is because of the negativity that gets blasted all across social media.
As somebody who grew up in a suburb of Memphis, grew up in South Haven, I've kind of mentioned on air a couple of times, we share that in common. Yeah. I lived in South Haven from 1996, probably long before you were born, until 2001. And I went to middle school there. I was a South Haven Charger from the end of my 5th grade year through the end of my freshman year of high school. And I loved it in South Haven. We We lived in an apartment off of Airways Boulevard. I loved being there, not far from Gibbon Road. We could get to Memphis pretty easily. It was great. But as somebody who grew up in South Haven, what was y'all's perception of coming into Memphis growing up versus what it is now? Is it different or the same?
For me, it's the same. My perception, like I grew up doing a lot of things inside the city of Memphis. Being in South Haven, that's just where I grew up, living in Mississippi. But the overall perception was, I think every other weekend, we end up in Memphis for something, whether it's we go to my parents like to always go to these little like fun, like outdoor style areas where they have like, cornhole and like indoor, like little arcade. I can't remember the name of it. It was an old place. It's somewhere like near Overton Square, I think. But man, I didn't be there anymore from what I know. But we never had any like bad thoughts about going into Memphis like during the weekend or during the week. I went to South Haven High School, 2 minutes from the state border of Memphis. Yeah. And so that's where we'd spend a lot of time. We'd go to a lot of Grizzlies games, go to just to go sightseeing. I would go spend some time and with some friends. We'd go like on the bluff and either where they had like these big fields. We'd play some like ultimate frisbee or just like talk, like just go out there and be in the city of Memphis. I love it. I love it there. Never had any real bad problems. I mean, everywhere. Chicago, St. Louis has places you want to avoid because they just not the best parts down. Memphis is no different. You have places you want to avoid, but overall inside the city of Memphis, I've never once said, I've never once said let's not go there because of not feeling safe or things that may be going on. It's just I love it. I can't get enough of it, so that's why I just love coming back down.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, especially as an out-of-towner, but somebody who grew up with some French ties to it. I am acutely aware of the crime incidences here in Memphis. Yeah. And we lived here in South Haven. My mom's car was broken into at the Malco in South Haven while we were in the theater watching The Perfect Storm, George Clooney movie. Super sad movie, but a good movie. They found it strewn down the side of Highway 55 outside of South Haven. They went and bounced some checks in Tunica. So I experienced it then. And
because we've had our cars broken into in South Haven. We've had our one of my buddies in high school. We were in Olive Branch and like we were inside of Target. Come back out and his door was just wide open, like broken into. It things happen everywhere.
In 2011, I was living in the city, going to grad school, and my house got broken into, and they hit us up for about $1,200 worth of stuff. So like crime happens. So I've experienced the crime firsthand. So I think I have an acute awareness of what it is. But to hear somebody, I'm not going to name names. I've already kind of beat around the bush. Y'all seen the clips. It is what it is. Like, to perpetuate the cycle and the perception without acknowledging truly, other than just saying, I've seen the numbers, they don't matter, I don't want to hear them, frankly pisses me off. For somebody who has the opportunity to change that perception. Because if you look at the stats aren't great. Yes, Memphis is high up in a lot of crime rates. Memphis has a crime problem. It is a thing. But if you look at the numbers, they are trending down. And you can't look at the numbers and say they don't matter because they do. B, they can influence the perception. And you're in a position of power to be able to influence that perception greater than anybody else. It's lazy to say that, yes, things are getting better, but I don't want to talk about it because the perception is still out there, right? That's like saying like I'm losing a ton of weight, but I'm still going to wear my fat pants because the perception is I'm fat, right? That doesn't make sense. When Memphis is consistently falling in the crime rates. Currently, Jared, they're sitting 7th. You listen to people talk, you would think they're the first, number one in murder per capita. We're 7th, behind St. Louis, who is a common city that people talk about moving the Grizzlies to, Nashville, St. Louis. St. Louis is number 1 per capita per 100,000 citizens in a murder rate in the United States. Baltimore, Maryland, New Orleans, Detroit, Cleveland, Las Vegas, Kansas City. What do all those cities have in common, Jared? A professional sports franchise is in every single one of them, multiple in most cities. But what city is the one that's talking about we need to remove that team from that city but Memphis? And it's sad to see, again, Stephen A. Smith, he's ignorant, he's clickbait, he does what he does. But when you're a local media guy, I expect better. I expect more. Yes, you can acknowledge the problem, but to say that the problem is the problem, the perception is the perception, numbers don't matter. I don't want to hear any kind of like rose, like a glass half full look at Memphis because of what the perception is. you're just perpetuating that bad perception of the city at that point.
Yeah, as someone, to hear that from someone who, works and is always inside in the Memphis media, you can't be like, oh yeah, we're getting better, but people still think this way. It's just it's you lift it up with a good and then you do something bad. It's just you can't. You negated it. You try to prop it up 100%. And then you immediately bring it back down. It's you
lose a lot of credibility in the eyes of Memphians when you do stuff
you
like
hit
that.
An easy baseball reference. You hit an easy double and try to stretch it out if you're Bartolo Colon trying to run to third and get thrown out by 50 feet because you just backed it up with a dumb comment. People's perceptions aren't going to change if you be like, oh, you can't change your perception even though we're getting better.
I mean, that's it. That's my whole point. Is he wrong? No, he's not wrong. The national perception of Memphis is terrible. When I tell people I'm from Memphis, they're like, oh. Even today, I told a guy in a meeting this morning, like, I irrationally love the city of Memphis, and I own that. Like, that's who I am. That's in my core. I irrationally love my city. And so, again, to see somebody in that kind of power to get up there and say, hey, the perception is bad out there and it's not going to change. Like, okay, cool. Go back to New York where you're from. Well, you'll have to literally step over drunk and homeless people and crime happening left and right in New York City to go watch the Mets or go watch the Knicks play up there. Like, if that's how you're going to be, like, keep that in that city. We're trying to make this city better. Talk about the Choose 901 movement. Talk about the things that are happening in Tom Lee Park. Talk about the things that are happening in Overton Square that are making this city better, that are all part of inner city Memphis. Yeah. I'm not talking about Lakeland and Arlington and Oakland and these suburban communities. I'm talking about things that are happening in the city of Memphis. Go hang out at Crosstown Concourse and see the festivals, the art festivals, the open air markets that they have there. There's too many good things going on in this city. Yeah. You just sit up there in a position of power and say that the perception is bad and we're not going to change it by seeing that things are improving. It's lazy.
Yeah, very lazy.
But that's it. I got salty. I got my dander up. That's all we're going to talk about that. I've given it enough airtime. And it's sad for the second time this summer we've had to address somebody crapping on this city of Memphis. Again, the first time, it is what it is. It was Stephen A. Smith. This time, unfortunately, it was one of our own. But that's all we're going to talk about it because, Jared, we do have football to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Welcome back to the 2 Buck Sports Show, segment number 2, where we are talking college football. I got my guy Jared Davidson today with me joining. And yeah, I mean, the beard is different, but I'm not going to lie. I already like you co-hosting this show better than I like. So let's put it
oh, man.
But Jared, we got college football coming up. And I know you write and you cover sports. We'll get more into that definitely in the third segment where we kind of get into your bread and butter. But it's unfortunate that, you and I are on opposite ends on opposite sides of who we support in SEC football, I guess. And so having you as a subject matter expert today might be a good thing because all I'm going to do is talk about how poorly Arkansas is going to perform this year. So how did you get to be an Arkansas Razorback fan, first of all?
So, okay, funny enough, never lived in Arkansas. Grew up, like you said, mentioned earlier, in South Haven. We're just 5 minutes from Memphis. But my parents, both of born and raised in Arkansas. Dad was an Arkansas sports fan. My dad's brother, so my uncle, lives in Arkansas. So like I said, big Arkansas fans. And it was one of those things like, you always see a tweet where it's funny. It's like, I can't wait to – why did I let my parents decide my lifelong sports torture?
That's just thinking that.
That's what it is. But, I mean, I think what got me to stay was, growing up watching the backfield of Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, and Peyton Hillis, watching those guys run rampant. Mm-hmm. And then, you get those 2010 seasons, where you lost to Ohio State in the bowl game, and also 2011 where you finished, I think, 4th nationally. Go 11-2 with your only 2 losses to the 2 teams who played the national championship in Alabama and LSU. Just kind of got me hooked. And here we are in the good old 2025, 14 years after 2011, and it's been miserable. But no, I became an Arkansas fan just because, I grew up into it. My parents born and raised in Arkansas. Dad, big Arkansas fan. And so, yeah, it just stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, a little inside baseball on me is I grew up an Alabama fan when Alabama was terrible. I was born into an Alabama family. My dad and granddad are from outside of Florence. My granddad, his email was Bama 56BB because he was there the last year before Bear Bryant was. And just like grew up in it, and then went to school at Mississippi State, changed my allegiance because that's what you do, unlike my other co-hosts. When you go to a school, that's your alma mater, that's what you root for. And so I became a Mississippi State fan right about the time Nick Saban came to town. And it was just it was an unfortunate situation, that's for sure. But that being said, the Arkansas Razorbacks are an interesting team coming up this year. Jared, I have watched them. I've been to games. I was at War Memorial talking about Felix Jones there, McFadden. I watched them play Mississippi State and run all over us at War Memorial Stadium there in Little Rock. And so I've seen Arkansas, watched Arkansas close for a long time. I watched the SEC documentary this past weekend. I was kind of like catching up on that. I was a little bit behind the 8 ball. And dadgummit, if I didn't find myself liking Sam Pittman a bit more than I thought. Like Sam, it seems just like a wholesome kind of dude that's just like an O-line guy, like just a trenches kind of guy that I feel like might be in a bit over his head as he enters into a season where he's firmly on the hot seat. He's 30-31 in his 5 years at Arkansas. They've had some bowl appearances, they've had some runs, but haven't been able to fully put it together. And each year seemed Jared to be getting a little bit worse.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. In 2020 was that COVID season, obviously. Just coming off of Chad Morris, haven't won an SEC game in 2 years, and Rusty, sorry, but our first SEC win was in Mississippi State. Who was y'all's quarterback? Was it Zach Calzada? Was that his name?
KJ Costello.
KJ Costello. Where did Zach Calzada?
He was A&M and then
A&M, that's right.
Auburn.
Yeah. But it gets to like it gave us hope. And then we play Ole Miss, I think a week or two later, get Matt Corral to throw 7 interceptions, and we win by like 10 points. And so, okay, we had something to go off of. I think we win. Should have beaten Auburn that year. Backwards spike should have been a fumble. Recovered it. They said no clear evidence. But anyways, I digress. Yeah. I think we went 4-6, and we're supposed to play in a bowl game against TCU, but they backed out. Gave us hope. That following 2021 season had a great senior class. A bunch of super seniors who were, either walk-ons or were in their 5th or 6th year with the program, win 9 games. You beat Penn State in the Outback Bowl. Everyone's going crazy. We made the right hire because, we were on that train of getting, either Deion Sanders or Lane Kiffin as well. And then it kind of started that downfall. Things started to get worse. KJ Jefferson, loved the guy, got worse as he went on. The local North Mississippi guy from Sardis went to North Panola High School, and it sucks to see his fall off. And then, you lose your starting running back to South Carolina when he transfers. And so it's just one of those things where things start falling off and you don't know how to get it back on the wagon. That's Sam Pittman. You hire a new offensive coordinator in Bobby Petrino. Things look better, and I'm sure we'll touch on that in a minute. But, yeah, Sam Pittman, he's on the hot seat, as you mentioned. But overall, last year you had 4 games that you lost by 10 points or less where you should have won. Yeah,
I mean, it felt like growth last year. Bobby Petrino was a big part of that. You finished in the top 10 nationally in offensive production last year. 2nd in the SEC in total offense, just racking up yards and yards and yards. Taylon Green coming into his own a bit later in the year. We'll talk about him more here in a minute. But Jared, do you think it's more just unable to get talent to kind of replace those guys that moved out? I know KJ Jefferson was a big swing and miss because he started off hot, ultimately leaving the SEC to go UCF and just not really panning out. He kind of ran out of gas, and you hate that for a local guy to us being from Northwest Mississippi, like you are. I'm from Northeast Mississippi. You root for those kind of guys. But do you think it's just Sam Pittman's not able to get that talent in there, or has the SEC just kind of left Sam Pittman in the system behind?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think we got caught in a transitional coach from, being in the depths of darkness with Chad Morris. And I feel like the ideal goal was Sam Pittman to be here for 3 or 4 years. And now we're past that window to where we could have hired somebody else to come back, kind of looking at Barry Odom from when he was at UNLV, bringing him back. But I think it's both. He's not able to get the talent that we wanted there. So Bobby Petrino's had to go into overdrive. I will say the one thing I'm excited about is having Taylon Green back, who's played SEC football. And I know I'm sure we'll touch on that in a minute. But it's a combination of both. Pittman's been left in the dust. He started out ahead of Lane Kiffin. as far as success-wise in the program. And then, Ole Miss being the NIL kind of giant that they've kind of grown into be now, they've started to take that leap. And it's not just on Pittman, so I will give him that. There is more NIL stuff that's going on behind the scenes
for sure
with our athletic director. But other than that, it's a mixture of both. And I like Pittman. I do. It seems like a great guy, but as a football coach, I think he's outlasted his stay.
Yeah, I mean, he reminds me of like a bygone era, right? Like the big O-line guys, the big gruff guys, and like you see him like writing thank you cards and stuff in the SEC documentary, and it just kind of like tugs on your heartstrings a little bit to watch this guy and kind of how he is. But like you kind of feel for Arkansas fans having to put up with what was Chad Morris, who was he was that sexy kind of hire. Like you felt like Chad Morris was going to be the guy. Like he was coming in from Texas, I believe. And he was just like this guy that was just only up and coming, only for it to completely fall apart. Sam Pittman inherited a mess, pointed in a great direction, but it kind of faltered. I think getting Bobby Petrino has been a great hire for them. Who says you can't go back, right? Who says you can't go home? Just keep the co-eds and motorcycles away from him, and he'll be fine on that staff. I had to say it at least one time. But his impact on Taylon Green last year was massive. He finished with over 3,700 yards of total offense, nearing school records. Early in the season, completing almost 50% of his passes, just really kind of crushing into that offensive system. And I think it feels like Bobby Petrino was a huge part of that for Taylon Green. And if he can take any kind of a leap this year, Jared, I do think Arkansas has earned some of the dark horse status that they kind of got the last few weeks.
And so I firmly believe that too. I'm not going to say we're going to win 10 games. Absolutely not. But you look at the 4 games you lost last year. Going to go back real quick. Oklahoma State, you were leading in that ball game. You ended up losing to a team.
For the majority of the game.
Yeah, majority of the game, lost at the very end. That team ended up going 3-9. Should have won that game. Tennessee, we upset them. Missouri should have beaten them, lost by 7. A&M was very close as well, lost by 4. So there's like I said, there's 4 games you should have won. Just I think lack of coaching decisions. But you go into the schedule, there's a real possibility that Arkansas could. There's going to be some dumb things that happen to prevent us from getting to this point. It could be 7-2. You look at it, you could beat Alabama A&M. That's who you start with. You can beat Arkansas State. You can beat Memphis. You can beat Tennessee on the road. I'm not terribly high on Tennessee, but that's going to be tough playing in Neyland. And then you have A&M, who we play close all the time, just can't seem to
get over the hump there.
Get over the hump there. Sorry, I'm getting layout messages from work right now as well. But Auburn can beat them, and then Rusty, Mississippi State.
I get it.
There's your 7 wins, but your 2 losses, you have Notre Dame and Ole Miss early on that schedule. So it's going to be tough. There is a path to 7-2. If you get me to 5-4 going into that LSU game in the season, I will be a happy camper. I still won't say Pittman gone though.
Yeah, and quirky things happen in the LSU game. Like that is always a weird game. It's late in the year. It's like the home team doesn't matter. The records don't matter a ton. The battle for the boot, as some say, like that. Yeah, that game's always squirrely and crazy things happen. If you come into that, let's say you get lucky and beat Mississippi State. You get over the hump with A&M. That Notre Dame game is super exciting. Having Notre Dame come to Fayetteville is going to be rocking. Notre Dame's going to be good. They were a playoff team last year, but Notre Dame also loses games early in the year. Let's just say you get lucky and you upset Notre Dame. If you come into that LSU game with a winning record, like we could have a Billy Napier type situation here, right? Where it's like, we wanted him fired, but you upset Tennessee last year and you get some momentum that kind of falters late this season. But if you head into there and let's say you've won 1, 2, let's say 3, 4, 5, you're coming in with 7 wins, like you said, maybe 8. Like this could be like, and you go to Tiger Stadium where quirky things happen. Right now, FBS has it predicted at a 12 or a 1 o'clock kickoff. So you avoid a nighttime game at Baton Rouge.
Avoiding a nighttime game there is huge.
You're looking at a 9-win season. And if that ain't going to get Sam Pittman fired, I hate to tell you.
No, that won't get him fired at all. And then your last 2 are at Texas.
And home for Missouri.
Missouri is beatable. Granted, we have a losing record since I've joined the SEC against them, but we've played some very competitive, fun games to watch with them.
Missouri's weird because they have more 11-win
so
seasons
weird.
over the last 10 years than like Ole Miss, State. They've been to more SEC championship games than just about anybody. Like they're just weird.
Yeah, very weird. I don't understand exactly what's going on. Why Drinkwitz can't seem to just get over that hump of taking that next step quite or so. But that's going to be an interesting one to watch. But I'm excited to see what this team can do. And you just put it up on the screen. I do think earlier this offseason, that win total, I would have said you can hammer the under on that win total all the time. But the more and more I just remember that we have Taylon Green, who has played an SEC schedule. Drew mentioned it several episodes back, where having an SEC quarterback who has played SEC football come back is such a huge positive. It could lead to this team to having 7 or 8 wins on the year.
Absolutely. And that's key in the SEC. You see it time and time again. It is a worry of mine a little bit for Mississippi State. Our defensive line, especially, being terrible. We have Blake Shapen, who hasn't played a full season in the last 3 or 4, including last year, didn't get a full SEC schedule or full season under his belt. That's tough. And in a conference where you need leaders, you're going to be playing in hostile environments week in and week out. You got a schedule that includes the number 21 ranked Ole Miss team, 19 A&M, 9 LSU, number 1 Texas, and 3 of those being on the road, where you're at Ole Miss, at Texas, and at LSU. That's tough. That's a tough gauntlet to run with an inexperienced quarterback. And Taylon Green brings you that experience. He's plus 15,000 to win the Heisman. I think it's like plus 15,000 to win the Heisman. But like every year there's that dark horse guy. And I'm not saying that it's going to be Taylon Green, but I'm saying it could be. If he clicks in his Bobby Petrino offense, it could work. But Taylon is only one guy. What about the weapons around him? Who's got you excited around Taylon Green?
I mean, really, on the offensive side of the ball, there's not much to be overly excited about.
Don't look.
I mean, you look at I'm going to go to NFL real quick. You look at the NFL preseason. Isaac Tesla for the Detroit Lions has had a great preseason. What did he do in Arkansas? Absolutely nothing, because we haven't been able to utilize our wide receivers at all since.
Listen, I'm super salty about one wide receiver from Arkansas that was supposed to replace my all-pro receiver in Tennessee. Traylon Burks is somebody. That's the name that I don't care to hear again for a long time.
Sorry about that one. That was also your GM's fault for relying on a rookie to replace an all-pro.
How in the world are you going to replace an A.J. Brown elite level talent with a rookie from Arkansas? I don't know.
But so really nothing on the run game will always be there. In a Bobby Petrino offense, you're going to be able to run the football. So we'll have a stable of running backs who will each probably have around 600 to 700 yards this year. Go to the defensive side of the ball real quick. Defense is going to be a big question mark, but up front, I'm loving this team right now. We got a transfer in the spring window from Troy. He was in my notes right here. Phillip Lee. He has his career numbers. He has over 64 tackles and over 20 tackles for loss, but majority of that production came last year at Troy. So I'm excited for him up front. He can play edge from the linebacker spot. He can be down on the defensive line. So that'll be fun. Just outside of Taylon Green on this offense, because we lost a lot of our transfers that went to, we lose a lot of transfers to Ole Miss for some reason. But outside of Taylon Green, it'll probably be some name that pops up midway through the season. You look down, and he's like, oh, this wide receiver already has 700 receiving yards through 6 games. So it's going to be one of those that's going to have to jump off and surprise you. But with an offensive line coach, Sam Pittman, an offensive line is always pretty decent. So I'd expect to be able to run the ball. But outside of individual weapons, your guess is as good as mine on that one.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas always has a big offensive line there. I think they're top 8 in size. Mississippi State randomly is the 3rd biggest offensive line in the country this year. It doesn't always necessarily translate to good things, because sometimes big guys don't move really well. And depending on your offensive system, in a system like Petrino's, though, you need big hogs up front. They're going to clear running lanes for that kind of that pass-happy run attack. But if you can get Taylon Green some time, again, looking at the wins here, the schedule, there's a path to 7 wins as we laid out earlier. You get plus 250 odds on FanDuel with that. That's pretty good money for a schedule. Where you can talk, like you talked about earlier, I see 6 to 7 very, very winnable games. And then you count Ole Miss. I'm going to count, you may hate this, but I'm going to count Memphis, because I think Memphis is going to be better next year than they're getting credit for. And the LSU game as kind of toss-up games, where it's you win those, you get some momentum, you lose them, and it could go the other way. But I think if you want to win a little bit of money, put some money on 7+ wins for Arkansas.
And that's Pittman's problem is he can't win the toss-up games. Going back to that conversation we had a few minutes ago, that's his problem because, Alabama 2 years in a row. You had Alabama.
Oh, yeah, had him on the door.
Had him on the door. I think it was then you go into Milroe's first year starting to where it's like 28-24 is the final score or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to win one or two toss-up games. And in late game situations, Pittman hasn't proven he can do that yet. So
Yeah, and a guy that's going to help with that, this is one of my guys, I was trying to find it a second ago when you were talking, but you got a transfer portal wide receiver coming in from UAB. And UAB is not known as a massive team, with a lot of upside. But Cam Shanks is getting a lot of hype in preseason camp as a speedy kind of guy. He's 5'8", 170, not a big receiver, but a guy that could be that slot guy that can get open. And if you get him in space, he's very shifty. And so he came in, he had almost 700 yards receiving last year on a bad UAB team with 6 touchdowns, averaging over 10.5 yards per reception. I think if you talked about a breakout candidate earlier, I think Cam Shanks could be that guy for Taylor Green.
It very well could be. And also, too, going back the past few years, Arkansas has a little bit of a knack to make small school transfers end up working and kind of getting the fan base back in. Last year, not a lot to talk about, but that wide receiver core, you had several lovable guys. In the running back field, you had, I am blanking on his name for the life of me. Can't remember it. I think he graduated. Anyways, there's a lot of, you look on the defense side of the ball too, walk-ons and small name guys. Drew Morgan was a walk-on several years ago, who's now, I believe, on staff at Illinois under Brett Bielema, was a walk-on and absolutely just came out and dominated the field at linebacker. So Arkansas has this special little knack to where you get a few small schools, small town guys, so where you can just absolutely turn them into monsters up front.
Yeah, they had the guy's name was like Bump something or another that was just
Bumper Pool.
That was like the most ultimate like football name. Bumper Pool, just a hard-nosed, thick neck middle linebacker that just ran through people and just I enjoyed watching Bumper Pool.
That 2021 linebacker core with Poole and Morgan was probably two of the most fun guys to watch. Either blitz or there was one play where Bumper watched a guy run a drag route, saw him come from the left side, waited, let him catch the ball, and just absolutely laid into him. And it's just those two, the linebacker cores that the defense has put together sometimes, especially with Morgan and Poole. Those are two fun guys to watch, man.
Absolutely. So, hey, y'all, thank y'all for being in the comments. Ninja GJ, King Meeks, Edward, I see y'all out there. Thanks for hanging with us today, chatting it up in the comments. Appreciate y'all being here. If y'all are on X, come on over to YouTube, hop in the comments. We're talking Arkansas football. We're going to shift gears to SEC here in just a second. But kind of last final thoughts, Jared, we talked about there's a path to 7 wins. There's a path to 9 wins if things go well. Over-unders at 5.5. There's also a reality where you kind of smash that under with losses. If you slip up against Memphis, Notre Dame, A&M, who you said you can't get over the hump with, maybe the Mississippi State Bulldogs pulled off an upset here against the Arkansas Razorbacks. But there's a path here for 7 wins, for 4 wins. It's super volatile. But for you as an Arkansas fan, what does a successful season in Fayetteville look like?
With this schedule, a successful season, let's see, you got 12 games, 7-5 with maybe an 8-5, after a bowl game. That will be successful. In my head, there's two sides of me. There's a side of me that wants to win 7 or 8 games. But there's also a side of me to where if we go 3-9 and Pittman gets fired, yes, I don't want to go 3-9. It's also a successful season. As a fan, you never want to see your team do bad. You always want to root for wins. But sometimes the bad years lead to a little bit of good things. It's a successful season's 8 wins, maybe push 9 if you win 8 in the regular season. But overall, it's tough. It's with this fan base. If you ever venture over into that side of Twitter, which can be a dark place sometimes, considering all the football failures, basketball failures, and of course college baseball failures.
Do we want to talk baseball?
No, we're good. We are okay. We're not opening that can of worms today
because we can talk about 2018 if you want to. But
on that note, thank you all for having me on the show. I will see you all later. But no, it's just it's a tough place. You want the team to do good, but there's some instances where you need to take that next step. You have two reliable coaches in two other sports. In football right now, people want a successful season, but they also want Pittman gone. So it's tough to gauge what a successful season is going to be for them.
Yeah, agreed. For me, for Arkansas, a successful season is building on some of that late season momentum offensively, figuring it out defensively. I think it's going to take 7 or 8 wins to keep Sam Pittman's job.
Yeah.
If you go 6-6, but you're uber competitive and say a couple of those 6 wins are against Tennessee, maybe you upset Notre Dame at home. I think he could still have a job next year with 6 wins. But I think truly like a 7 or 8 win season is what it's going to be to at least keep the job, A, and B, turn the temperature of his seat down, given that he's been there for 5 years and we've had kind of like regression over the last couple, especially.
Yeah, it'll be tough. So,
and in the SEC that is getting better, we're going to talk SEC championship odds because Drew and I have talked about it a bit, but I want your take on it. Here are your top 5 SEC odds-on favorites to win the championship this year, with Texas at plus 280, Georgia at plus 290, Alabama at plus 470. You got LSU at plus 600, A&M at plus 1400. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I see 1, I see 2, I see 3 of these teams on Arkansas's schedule next year.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the SEC at large? Who is the teams that you're looking to like? Who do you think is going to run the table? And I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit, but give me like one dark horse that nobody's talking about enough.
Okay. So I will say I'm not too high on Georgia. They have 4 new offensive linemen this year. Not entirely sure how that's going to pan out. Also, a new quarterback. Texas and Alabama, those are probably my 2 favorites in the SEC right now. LSU's up there, but like I said, that depends on can Brian Kelly avoid an early season loss, and can Garrett Nussmeier stay healthy with these knee issues that he has had. Now, Bama, the reason I'm high on Bama, not just because, hometown kid up here in Martin.
I was going to ask you about Ty. Sure.
Yeah, no, not just because he's a starting quarterback, but because DeBoer has his 2023 offensive coordinator back from that Washington squad. He spent a year at Seattle in the Seahawks organization, but now he's back in I think it was like arguably one of the best offenses that college football saw that year. So I'm excited to see how Ty works in that one. A guy who had Michael Penix running that system. I'm excited to see how Ty runs that one as well. Texas, It's Arch Manning. They brought back a lot. I said a few weeks ago I'm not too high on Texas, but me not being too high on Texas is a 10-2 season and losing in the first round of the college football playoff. That's me not being too high on Texas. Sure. Like I said, LSU, I think they'll contend. It just depends on Nussmeier's health and if Brian Kelly can avoid a dumb coaching decision that he has like early in the year.
He will. And then they have a lot of questions on defense once again. Last year was a bad defensive team. I'm a fan of their linebackers. They've missed Harold Perkins. If he can be healthy, they'll be better. I'm a big fan of Whit Weeks and what he does, but a lot of question marks on the defensive side of the ball.
I watched Harold Perkins his freshman year single-handedly win LSU the Golden Boot.
He was so good.
He had, I think he had 23 tackles in that game alone.
And that's the potential, but he's just been hurt so much that if he could have a full healthy season, like we're talking like Bednarik, we're talking like Lombardi trophies, we're talking about guys that he can win a lot of hardware and propel a defense.
Yeah, and make himself a lot of money in the process.
Yeah.
Dark horses, Missouri and Oklahoma. I'll give you 2. I like Oklahoma. They got, I think at the time when he transferred, he was the number 1 ranked quarterback transfer in John Mateer from Washington State. They have a new offensive coordinator, but one guy that I watched at Cal a lot last year was Jaden Ott, who now they have in their backfield from the transfer wise. The reason I'm high on Missouri, they have 8 of their 12 at home. They have a favorable schedule that avoided Georgia, LSU, and Texas. They avoided 3 of the teams on this list right here.
Yeah.
And it's going to be insane. And I think Drinkwitz he showed signs of having a good defense last year. And I think they returned a lot of them. So this could be one of his better defenses since he's been there. I think Missouri sneaks in as probably maybe contending, maybe like that 3rd or 4th team in the standings overall when it's said and done. But I think they can sneak into the college football playoff too as a 11, maybe even that 12 seed, that final seed. So Missouri and Oklahoma are the 2 dark horses that I've had my eye on this offseason.
Yeah, I need to see more from Venables before I give him a ton of credit as a head coach. I like Oklahoma. I like the talent that they have here. McTier needs to stay off Venmo and FanDuel. Shout out to FanDuel.com. But I like Oklahoma, I do, but I need to see more from them before I give them a credit. Missouri is who I was going to say. I like that pick, Jared. Smart man. Absolutely. Missouri's schedule is very favorable. They play 4 ranked teams, and 3 of them are at home. They get South Carolina at home early. They get Alabama at home off of a bye week, A&M at home off of a bye week, and then they travel to Oklahoma for their 4th and final ranked matchup as of now. Drinkwitz gets a lot of talent back, and from what Gerard Hamilton said on the show a couple of weeks ago, and what I've been reading online, they really like this new quarterback. He's a great game manager. He makes better decisions than Brady Cook. Brady Cook had a big arm, but he didn't always make the right read. He didn't always make the best play. The schedule is very favorable for a run for Missouri, and an 11-win Missouri team absolutely gets in the playoffs. And I wouldn't be shocked if a Texas and Missouri SEC championship game was played this year. I too am a little lower on Georgia. I'm a little lower on Alabama than most. I just don't know that I believe in Kalen DeBoer's system enough that it's going to work in Tuscaloosa. And I like your boy Ty Simpson, but he seems a bit more one-dimensional than previous quarterbacks they've had there. And I'm a little nervous there's going to be a second-year regression for Kalen DeBoer.
So what they go 9-4 last year? Is that what they went? Or no, 9. They lost their bowl game. They were 9-3 in the regular season. On the outside looking in the college football playoff, I think you see a 10-2 season. And them get in as an 8 or 9. Simpson has good footwork, good feet work. He has a cannon of an arm, and I think there you go. You're unfrozen now. But it's going to be tough. I think I think the expectations for Bama have died down a little bit now under DeBoer because it's the first year without Saban. But I'm not going to say they're going to be in the championship game, but I think they can with a 10-2 if one of those 2 losses is to either Wisconsin or Florida State. I think if they lose the opening week to Florida State, some alarm bells go off instantly, and there's pressure to put the 5-star freshman in there.
And once again, a very, very favorable schedule for the Crimson Tide. They play at Georgia, but they get Tennessee at home, LSU and Oklahoma at home. Their 2 ranked road SEC games are at Georgia and at South Carolina. You heard it here first. South Carolina upsets Alabama on October 25th. That's a road. Williams-Brice is an electric place. I've seen 2 games there. It's an electric place to watch them play football. I'm just getting chills thinking about it. It's an incredible space. I watched them beat Mississippi State, and then I watched them get Dan Mullen fired there. It's an incredible place to go watch. You heard it here first. South Carolina upsets Alabama, and Kalen DeBoer's seat gets cranked all the way up because they're very impatient in Titletown, which is Tuscaloosa. So, but that's your FanDuel Sports Talk about SEC football for today. I do have my guy Jared here. Jared's going to give us all his credentials, who he is, what he works for on the other side of this quick commercial break. And we're going to talk about some high school football here in West Tennessee because I know that's where he makes his bread and butter. Y'all stay tuned. We got a commercial, and we'll see you on the other side.
Looking for an alternative to alcohol or conventional medicine? Check out Ounce of Hope, a Memphis-based dispensary with 2 local stores in the Sanderland Center and on South Cooper Street. You can get all the products you need in a location convenient to you. Each store offers an intentional shopping experience with dedicated bud tenders to answer all of your questions, from product selection and mushroom blends to our personal favorite, the Delta 9 seltzers. You gotta try the Peach Buzz. Try Ounce of Hope at either one of their 2 Memphis stores or at www.ounceofhope.com for convenient products shipped right to your door. Use the promo code Bluff City for 15% off any order, excluding sale items. Cannot be used in conjunction with other promotions or discounts. One use per customer.
I'm just very, very curious about offense and how that's going to look. I think you're going to have big performances.
Yeah.
From guys that you're not necessarily hanging your hat on. A Curtis Givens, Julius Thedford, Assam Abdul Hakim. You have to get some big offensive pop from guys that are outside of the top couple of guys, and I just, again, I'm not convinced.
At this point, does it feel like the roster is missing that dude? It does. Absolutely. The guy who's supposed to be that dude is in the middle of the battle of his life in court right now.
Right.
Like, and so yes, I think your is kind of justified. Like, I think it's warranted.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 12 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
Welcome back to the third and final segment here on the Two Bucks Sports Show, brought to you by FanDuel Sports. I did fail to mention this, and it popped up on X during the commercial break. I want to talk about this. I am not prepared for what's happening on Friday night, Jared. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but ESPN has released that they're doing a special Lee Corso show called Not So Fast, My Friend, Friday night, 8 p.m. Central on ESPN. Like, I am not ready. I'm gonna get emotional. I'm not ready for that, because next Saturday, August 30th, we'll be at Grind City for our first college football special show. Is the last Lee Corso headgear pick of his career. I'm not ready, Jared. I'm not, man.
I'm not. He's been in the game a long time. Grew up.
Me too. I grew up
Saturday watching it. It's tough. I mean, it's been hard watching like him digress over the past few years, but like it's just Elite Corso is just somebody that everyone loves to see on their television screens on Saturday morning. So it's going to be tough. And now that you said that, now I'm not ready to go watch that on Friday night because I know I'll see it.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it earlier. I meant to mention it, and like I'm just like the emotions that are going to run through that, because that's like super nostalgic. Because I can remember childhood watching him, like hoping as a child, being an Alabama fan, hoping he'd pick the elephant head, or picking against him, or listen to him shoot the gun and drop an F-bomb on live TV at Oklahoma, and just so many good core memories around college football. Like, to me, like cool weather, a hot breakfast, and Lee Corso go hand in hand in the fall, and that's going to be a tough like show Friday night and next Saturday as well, for sure. But I got my guy Jared Davidson here. He was kind enough to join me today, as Uncle Buck is out, probably just having like a free lunch with somebody. I'm not even sure he's truly working. So, Jared, appreciate you stepping in his absence today. You've been crushing it today. But I want to talk about what is your kind of wheelhouse and what you do for work. So you mentioned earlier kind of a sports editor. Kind of tell the people, what is your role there in Martin?
So recently I just started this job right after I got married. So back in June. This full-time job, what I do now is I'm a sports editor for all of like high school sports for about 4 of our different publications that we have here in Northwest Tennessee. One in Martin, one in this town called Dresden, one over in 2 counties over in Lake County, which has been a unfortunate hot topic of regular news recently over the past few weeks. And then down in just like Crockett County area. So I write a lot of sports, not just football, for other fall sports that are going on right now. Cross country, soccer's going on, volleyball and whatnot. But my part-time job, and where I have a lot of the fun, is in the broadcast booth when I get to call for Westview, which right back here, the school I call for. It's fun. So I get to write during the week and on Friday nights, and when basketball season gets here, 3, sometimes 4 nights a week, get really busy having to write and call games as well. I'm on the road this week. Thankfully, they opened the year at home before going on the road 3 straight times. So broadcaster for part-time gig, and play-by-play broadcasting, which is you can have the fun there, and then get to write sports during the week, man.
Absolutely. So Martin has a special place in my heart. When I first moved back from Myrtle Beach, in December of 2023. My first stop was Martin, Tennessee. I actually worked at a PT office there in Martin in the varsity theater. Worked there.
Sideline.
Used to be the sideline. Brian Smith. If you see him in a Westview game, tell him I said, hey, that you know me. Brian's one of my favorite humans on this planet. That job didn't work out for various reasons, and that's a story for some beverages later. But I do have a special place in my heart for Martin, Tennessee. I love that area. UT Martin's a great campus. I worked with a lot of the football players from there. I worked with a lot of Westview football players there, so I do keep up with it and kind of find myself just kind of like a little special place for them. So tell me, we got a mascot. We got a third buck here today.
So funny enough, whenever I'm on a podcast, he'll be chewing a bone or something, and then he'll get under my desk and try to raise up into my lap every once in a while. So that's my dog Whiskey.
Whiskey, great, solid name. Love that. That. But so Westview opens this Friday night with the Memphis team. Is that correct?
Yeah, Mace. So Memphis Academy of Science and Engineering. Mace, they made the jump this offseason from 1A to 2A. They won state in 1A against South Pittsburgh in Chattanooga back in December. So, yeah, they open up with a Memphis team, and I've gotten a lot of my prep work already done. So it's going to be a fun opener, and it's going to be a tough one to open up, because Westview, they return a lot on offense. We'll talk about the quarterback here in a second, I imagine. But on the defensive side, lost a little bit and lost 1 to 2 guys at each level on the line, linebacker, and defensive back level. So defense is going to be a little bit of a question mark, but overall, this game has the potential to be a really fun one, possibly like both teams scoring in the 40s and 30s.
Yeah, that's awesome. For a high school football game, that's fantastic. Westview is not that far, 4 or 5 years removed from maybe 3 years from a state championship themselves. Right?
This year will be 4 years removed. And back in 2021, when the quarterback at Alabama, his senior year, led more to a state title. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so Brian's son was on that team. He was one of the linebackers on that team as well. Holden Smith was one of the linebackers for the Westview Chargers that year. So talk about some of those guys. You kind of briefly mentioned the quarterback situation there at Westview. Who are the guys that are kind of the dudes for Westview this year? I know they got a couple guys getting some attention from some pretty big colleges.
Yeah. So first off, Graham Simpson, doesn't graduate till 2028, but I mean, he's already broken a lot of his brother's records in his freshman year. Just last year, he was Max Prep's National Freshman of the Year. He was a Mr. Football finalist. Don't know how he didn't win it, but that's a conversation for another day. Was most valuable player in the region. And here are his numbers, just passing wise, his freshman year: 4,135 yards, 57 touchdowns, 1 interception on 75% completion. So yeah, as a freshman,
numbers.
He's got the TSSAA passing record for passing yards in a game with 620. He's got 13 offers right now. Some of those include Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, UCLA. So he's one to watch. Asa Barnes is another one, the running back. He's gotten some offers from Tennessee, Maryland, and otherwise. And same with Miles Brown, corner. Tennessee offers Maryland. So they have some guys. Like, it's not just Graham Simpson that is doing the workload for Westview. It's, you have guys like Asa Barnes, Miles Brown. One that I'll mention is a senior this year, Dantes Joy. He doesn't have all the big offers yet, but his first varsity game caught over 330 yards passing. So I mean, it's crazy. They had the talent level on this team is insane. So just for Westview.
Yeah, the running back is the one that I was kind of referencing earlier. Like, he's starting to get some traction. He's really starting to kind of come on the scene. And if he has a breakout season this year, like, he's got a good frame. He's a little bit small, but he's got a good frame that can fill out. And like, if he can continue to develop, it could be another great college player to come out of Westview, which has produced a few. So
let's see here. Shout out to the call sheet that I use on Friday nights.
Attaboy.
Let's see, because I've already made one for this week. Asa Barnes last year averaged 8.6 yards per carry.
The strong work.
And that was with the inexperienced offensive line too. So
yeah. There you go. So what is the prospect for Westview football this year? Do you think they're going to be a contender? Or are they going to be kind of middle of the road? What is the expectation in and around Martin?
Expectations gold ball. Get to Chattanooga. Expectation, honestly, is to go, 13-0. you have a tough game against Marshall County in the middle of the season. It's a non-region game, so it won't affect, the region standings or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But the expectation here right now is to go bring a state championship back to Martin, Tennessee for the first time in 4 years. And on the football side of things, girls basketball has won 3 of the last 4.
Girls basketball is electric in Martin, Tennessee.
You get up to the northwest corner of Tennessee, and girls basketball is insanity.
I didn't realize that until I got in the mix, and it is heated rivalries, and they talk about that more than we talk about football and basketball to an extent in Northeast Mississippi as well. It's pretty good, but it is heated for girls up there.
Oh yeah, so funny enough, the girls basketball, Westview's biggest rival is right over my shoulder here. That's where my wife went to high school and won a state championship in 2019. So that's funny that I work with a school calling her school's biggest rival. But Alcoa is out of the picture in 3A now. They moved up to 4A. Alcoa has won 10 straight state titles. They are just that powerhouse in East Tennessee. So overall, the expectations of gold ball. They will run into a team probably in November from Memphis in Melrose. Melrose was just in the state title picture at the 4A ranks. They come down to 3A. They have a lot of guys that are coming back that'll be really good. So there's a chance I'm down in Memphis in the postseason. There's a chance Melrose comes up here. But the expectation is to bring a gold ball, not just this year, but for the next 2 or 3 years back to Martin.
Love that. That's awesome. Well, Jared, that's all our time for today, man. I appreciate you being here and joining me today. Appreciate Whiskey being here and rooting us on here. Shelby's always in the background here, so Whiskey, dog barks are appropriate
on the
Two Buck Sports Show. But Jared, thank you again. Tell the people where they can find you on social media and where to follow you.
Oh yeah, so on social media, you can go to Twitter or X. The handle's right there under the bottom bar, whatever you want to call it. It's at JB Davidson _ Instagram. It's the same thing. It's at JB Davidson, I think, on Instagram as well. That's about it. I mean, we post a lot of our content to Facebook because that's where we stream our Friday night games. We've also got our YouTube back up and running for this football season. We ran into a little bit of trouble with that during basketball season. Got shut down a little bit. But at Sports 731 Network, I think on YouTube this year it's at Westview Chargers at NWTN Chargers football on YouTube is where you can watch all of our football games for free during the season. So yeah, y'all can tune in to watch that, and you can hear my voice on Friday nights. And yeah, it'll sound a little bit more official than just this casual conversation. That is a thing. Broadcasting voice is a 100% thing. And also too, Rusty just popped it up. Ounce of Hope, Bluff City. We have an order coming in here. It should be coming in tomorrow.
Let's go. Love that. Again, I'm big on the Vitality Gummies right now. Y'all check out ounceofhope.com. Use the code Bluff City to get you 15% off your next order. It's fast shipping. If you're here in Memphis, you can go to the center, to the source at the Sanderland Center and in the Cooper Young neighborhood. But in the meantime, go be a friend to somebody who needs a friend. Thanks for hanging out with us today, and we'll see y'all tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to the 2 Buck Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.